Good morning and welcome to Plymouth Airport, or the airport formerly known as Plymouth Airport. It's a mothballed airport, so strictly speaking I shouldn't be sat here in a plane on the runway ready to take off. But, you know, it's flight simulator, we can do what we want. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If you tuned into my first video, thank you for coming back. If you didn't tune into the first video, that was just a little 3-minute clip, cinematic piece, let's call it. Me flying up from Scilly Isles here along the Cornish coast up to Plymouth here. And today we're going from Plymouth up to Dartmoor, a little bit north, and then we're going to U-turn and head back down to across the channel to France, doing a fly past on Mont St Michel, which is one of the first modelled points of interest that we'll find on our journey. We are flying in the Cessna Grand Caravan again, and I'm just going to talk a little bit about some of the bits and pieces I've learnt along here, and also some of the bigger picture stuff, what I plan to do with this channel as we go. So let's get going. Reaching 80, rotating and take off. If you didn't see the first video that I've done, the airport down in Scilly Isles was a lot shorter than I realised, and I just about had enough speed to get off the runway, which, as you probably guessed, being a bit of a novice pilot, if I was a bit more experienced, I probably would have known that the runway was that length, and would have been taking all of that into account. So you can gauge the level of expertise that you're dealing with here, which is not much, I'm afraid. Anyway, we're turning left now, and we're just going to head towards the Tamar Bridge, which is not rendered here properly by Flight Simulator out of the box. It's just one of their stock bridges, but using a product called RenderDoc, which, when I say product, it's a free tool called RenderDoc. You can take a Google Earth snapshot, effectively, or a Google Maps snapshot of a 3D, one of the photogrammetrically captured 3D models in Google Maps, and it effectively, it's like taking a screenshot, but it's taking a 3D screenshot, so the entire model is captured. Then using another free tool called Blender, which is a really interesting tool. So I've never really done stuff with models before, so it's really interesting to find out this stuff. You can just tidy it up, essentially, pick out the piece of, because it captures all the scenery around it as well. So it captures the water, the road, banks, the houses around it, everything like that. And you can tidy it up in Blender, and then using the Microsoft SDK, you can import it into your flight simulator, which is great for, you know, just little bits like this stuff, which essentially is not going to be in the flight simulator and may never be in the flight simulator. It's all community driven stuff. There are obviously bugs there. You can see some cars just driving through the water, which is because they believe there's a road there, because it's all AI driven. But you know, it looks quite good from a distance, as long as you don't get too close to these things, which is, you know, the idea of a flight simulator. You're not meant to be 500 feet and overspeeding like I was there. But anyway, right, let's turn north and head up onto Dartmoor. We're just going to take in some of the terrain around Dartmoor, and we're going to enjoy what Microsoft Flight Simulator can bring us. Just flying alongside the River Tamar on the left. That River Tamar is essentially a border between Devon and Cornwall for the most part, I believe. If you ask for Cornish, it runs the entire length of that border, essentially making Cornwall an island. If you're a staunch Cornish independence type person, there's a few of them around. But moving on, yes, we're flying up north onto Dartmoor, and as I mentioned, we're then going to turn south, head to San Malo via a little fly past of Mont St Michel. And just to give you an idea of what the plan is for this channel in general, is I want to essentially turn this into a sort of round the world point-to-point project. So today we're going to land in St Malo, and the next time I do one of these videos I'll take off from St Malo and we'll head south into Europe, into France, a bit further, maybe into Paris, I don't know. Today I've done just a basic start on the runway, everything's up and running for me, which is a great thing about Flight Simulator. It lets people like me just get in and start flying. But what I'd like to do is become a lot more educated about the whole flying and piloting business, and would like to spend a bit more time learning about the checklists and everything that you need to do. So what I plan on doing is doing some cold and dark starts where you'll be learning along with me if you join me, and just try and build up my knowledge basically, and we'll see some of the amazing sights that Microsoft Flight Simulator brings us along the way, and just see where it takes us really. So it's going to be a learning curve. I'll make mistakes, and hopefully you can feedback those mistakes and help me learn as well. And if it gains a bit of traction, maybe I'll be able to do some live streams in the future, and maybe even do some multiplayer legs on live stream, so you can have a few people join me and doing some of the legs and just fly around as we go. Be good, pretty cool, I think. But it's going to be a long-term project. There's a lot of the world to see. I can't spend a huge amount of time at one time doing this. I'll probably only get a couple of hours in the evening where I can spend on this, and obviously I can't spend every evening on it, so it's gonna probably last as long as the entire Microsoft Flight Simulator product, about 10 years I think they've said it's going to. So anyway, let's get going. We're going up into Dartmoor now. Dartmoor's a nice national park down here. Here we go. I'll do my Plymouth tourism sales pitch. We're really lucky down here, if we're honest. We've got Dartmoor, which is sort of almost like a wilderness national park. It's fantastic for just getting away from crowds, and occasionally do a little bit of sort of wild camping. Just bring a tent and some basic supplies up here for a night or so. Just get away from it all. It's really, really good. And it's right on our doorstep here in Plymouth. It's 15 minutes drive and you're in the national park, and another 15 minutes and you're away from all the crowds. It's great. And as well as that, we've also got the ocean right on our doorstep as well. So I like to do a bit of kayaking, and I have a few friends who do stand-up paddle boarding, which is something I intend to get into as well. That's all right on our doorstep, so we are really lucky with where we are. You can see, Dartmoor is pretty sparsely populated. This goes on for miles and miles. I actually did a 50-kilometer ultra marathon across Dartmoor last year. In fact, I'm not built for that sort of stuff, but I got roped into it, and it was more of a walk. I did a little bit of running, but it was mostly a walk. And there's some tough hills in here, I can tell you. We were really lucky with the weather. It was really enjoyable, but the blisters lasted for a long time. It was hard going, but 50 kilometers across here just shows you the sort of expanse that you've got to play with. But anyway, I'm going to make a turn in a minute. We're going to head back south across Dartmoor, and you can enjoy the scenery for the next minute or two, and I'll rejoin you when we approach Mont St Michel or St Malo. Okay, we're coming in for final approach at San Marlo now. This is definitely the trickier bit of flying, I find. Just a little, getting blown off a little bit to the left here, or drifting to the left. Keep it on the runway, or we're going to be landing one wheeled. Oh, there we're down. We're down. That wasn't too bad. I don't think there's too much damage. So, definitely something to be worked on there. It's definitely a bit tricky a bit. So, I think air traffic control is invited us to go and park over by on one of the general aviation ramps. There's a few decent sized jets to the right. It looks like a, is it like a DHL jet or something over there on the right. One of the nice aids for people like me who don't know airports very well is the taxi ribbon that you get, these blue lines which guide you to your final destination, and again with takeoffs as well. If you're parked on a ramp before you take off, they will guide you along the taxiway to your runway for takeoff, so it's quite handy for negotiating your way around the airports, which can be quite tricky. Lots of lines and lots of vehicles moving around, which is a bit confusing to people like me who are novices. Anyway, we're going to come off onto the taxiway now and go and find our parking spot, and then that'll be it for our leg to San Marlo. So next up we're going to be heading south again. Feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below if you have any suggestions. I imagine it's going to be Paris direction, but we're open to any suggestions. I don't know how far Paris is down from here. But if you've enjoyed this video, please hit that like button, and if you really want to keep following the story, which is great, please hit subscribe and join me on the next leg. Cheers.